Um, Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for coming today. I'm Ree Merritt, Senior Program Manager with Microsoft. I run the Data Platform MVP program, and I manage the relationship between the product group and the Azure Data community. And that means all of you, that's your user group leaders, conferences, things like that. That's my job. So in my free time, I am a wife, a mother, a tech organizer, a user group leader, angry feminist. And over the years, I've done a lot of women in tech talks. I used to run a women in tech user group. I don't do that anymore. I make no apologies, mostly, for who I am. And just when I'm wrong, I say I'm wrong. But so that's who I am today. We're going to talk today. This talk is Lifting as We Climb. And I've done this before as a keynote. And I've pulled some bits of this from other women in tech talks that we do. And it is this is the product of, whenever I do a women in tech talk, I try very hard to make sure that the people who are attending the session, men, women, whoever is attending the session, that when they leave here, they have actionable steps that they can take to improve the way they interface at work, the way they are an ally at work, the way they can support themselves at work. And so I got a lot of questions about, well, when X happens, how should I respond? When Y happens, how should I respond? So that's kind of what this has become now. So we're going to go through a few different things that you can put into place at work. We're going to define some things, maybe teach you a few things that you didn't know about that existed before. And so that's not going to take us the full 50 minutes. That'll be building a strong base. And then at that point, we will transition to Q&A. Andy or Victoria One will help with the mic so that the people who are watching online can hear us easily. And we'll see if we can help you when you go back to work. I don't see, no, I think we're good. Okay. So lifting as we climb is a phrase typically associated with underrepresented segments of the population, right? So that tends to be women, people of color, and people with varying levels of ability. This refers to the act of pulling someone up behind you after you have taken a step on the ladder, right? And I think that we, particularly as women, since that's the focus of our topic today, have a moral obligation to not be what some women call a ladder puller. Does everybody understand that concept? What a ladder puller is? How many of you have worked with a woman who feels that she made it to a certain place on her own grit and strength and character, and that she shouldn't have to help you? She shouldn't have to make it easier. She essentially has gone up a step on the ladder and pulls the ladder up behind her. That's the phrase ladder puller. Now, I will say that it's not the norm. It's rare. That there are far more women out there in the world who want to help you move forward. You just notice the women who pulled the ladder up because it's so offensive and outrageous that I think we all know they didn't get there all by themselves on their own strength and character. There are women who did this before all of us, who got up every day and worked in a much more hostile environment and had them pass laws and everything. It just makes it easier for us to go to work every day, right? And to have a job and to have our own credit cards and to have our own bank accounts. All of those things. You didn't get there by yourself. Madeleine Albright, who was America's first female Secretary of State, said there's a special place in hell for women who don't help other women. And she's not wrong. Okay, so those that value our strength as women working together, and then there are those who seek to pull up the ladder, like we've talked about. The women who reach back and help somebody climb up the ladder, those are the ones who are generous. They're the ones that I admire. They're the women that I try to be. And I would hope that that is who you try to be, whether you're men or women, but specifically in this particular case, women, right? But again, it is the small minority that is the high school mean girl who never grew out of it, right? So first step, mentorship. I think everybody in here probably knows what a mentorship is, right? Hey, Deb. So mentorship is someone who teaches or gives help and advice to a less experienced and often younger person. So you've excelled in your career and you didn't get there alone. So now it's time to pay it back, right? You had a mentor at some point in your career, so maybe it's time for you to be a mentor. And so what is a mentor? Well, it's someone who teaches others what worked for them, helps them figure out what's going to work for them. It is possible that maybe not all mentor-mentee relationships are a good fit. I think it's important early on to find out what you can give or what they need, and to recognize that if the mentor-mentee relationship isn't going to work, that you find another one, right, instead of both of you wasting your time. So a mentor is often defined as a wise or trusted advisor. So think back, how many of you know that you've had a mentor in your life, in your career, that helped you get where you are? Not everybody's raising their hand, so I may have some follow-up questions for you later, like how you think you've missed a mentor role or how it impacted you. So think back to the mentor who made the greatest impact in your life, if you've had more than one, and figure out what made them stand out, what aspect it was about that relationship that helped you the most. Odds are pretty good that's going to be what you're the best at giving to whoever your mentee is going to be. Ask what it is that they brought to the table that changed your career or that changed the path of your career, and try to realize that. Sorry, I dealt with this microphone and now I have hair everywhere. So use that to identify the strengths that you have to then help somebody else. So one of the most important characteristics that any mentor has is the ability to communicate effectively. Keep in mind that communication is a two-way street. So when I say communicate effectively, I don't just mean you talking at someone, right? I mean, when you're communicating with someone, you're making sure that they're understanding the message, that they're able to put it into practice, that it makes sense to them, that it works for them, and that you're listening to them and the feedback they're getting, and either adjusting what it is that you're doing, or finding somebody else. But it's important to pay attention to their feedback, and admit that sometimes if you don't know the answers, right, that either you can find someone you either find the answer or you find someone who will find the answer for them. So some concrete steps when you want to mentor someone. First and most importantly, establish your expectations, right? So explain your role to them and what it is that you think you'll be doing for them. Point out what you're going to expect from them in return, right? This being a mentor isn't just you pushing information at them. So if you're going to expect them to read a book, do some research, try some things, and then come back to you with feedback, just make sure that they know what you're going to expect. Figure out what they need. So ask questions to find out their priorities and their career goals. Simple enough, right? Set goals for both of you. And if possible, find out any goals that their boss may have set for them and integrate those into your relationship. Define how this is going to work, right? Deborah, and you can just talk out loud really quickly here. If I were to ask you how a mentor relationship would work with you, what is it that, how would you define that? Like, you want to be a mentor, you're going to define that.
If I'm going to be a mentor, how I'm defining what I do as a mentor or as a
Correct.
mentee?
As a mentee. As the mentee.
for the mentee, I mean, a lot of what you have here is kind of what it is, because I want to make sure that as a mentor, I want to help the mentee achieve their goals. So what are they looking for? That's the first question. You know, for speaking, you want to speak, wonderful. What's your style? Who are you? How do you want to present? And so that way I can work with them on getting that clear
So
and finding their goals.
Simpler than that.
Oh,
So simpler than that. What's the very first thing that you need to do? How often are you going to meet them?
oh yeah,
I mean,
no.
you have to. Are you
Yes.
going to meet online? Is this going to be on the phone? Are you only going to see each other at conferences? Are you going to do this in person over lunch? You have to set like some really basic ground rules.
Yes.
Am I going to see you once a month? Am I going to give you a task and you're going to touch base with me every week, right? So that's part of setting and managing expectations.
Yeah.
So when you start this, I mean really basic, right? Those are the things. I mean, I get it that we're talking really, really high level. So your
Yeah.
answer's really, really high level.
Yeah.
I'm just making sure all of you know it doesn't start here, right? That it
Yeah.
starts really, really, really low down. Hold on, I put my clicker down. So you need to be clear as the mentor. You would want to be clear about your time and your boundaries. And then they're going to need to be very clear about their time and their boundaries and how much you're willing to give and how much they're willing to give to the relationship. So listen, ask, advise. So mentoring starts with a conversation. What works, what doesn't work. Maybe they've already tried a few things that didn't work for them. When they tell you that, it's really, really important that you listen to them. There are types of mentor relationships that really just don't work for me. I am not cheerful, right? And I don't need a cheerleader, and I'm not a kindergarten teacher. You know, it takes a special kind of person to teach 5 and 6-year-olds. I am not that person, right? I'm just not. I don't have it in me. And so that kind of mentor relationship wouldn't work for me, right? A cheerleader isn't going to work for me. So it would be best if we both defined that early on, right? Some people will learn best by reading books, reading websites. Not everybody does. You know, not everybody does. Know that you as a mentor, know that what worked for you may not work for them, and accept that. It's not something that's wrong. It's something that's different. Not everybody may be the same level of confident extrovert that you are, if that's who you are. So be very, very conscious of if they're an introvert, that you're not giving them something that's too big of a reach for them, right? You're essentially setting them up to fail if you're expecting them to be you when they're not. So some people aren't self-starters. In some cases, you will have to hold their hand to get them going down a path. So it's important to be accountable to each other, right? So hold yourself. So you've established boundaries, you've established time, you've established the rules. Hold yourself to them, each other, and yourself, right? What is the word? Be accountable. That's the word I was looking for. A mentor-mentee relationship is built completely on trust. If your mentee doesn't trust you, they're not going to trust your advice. There are times where it is appropriate to accept that this isn't going to work and move on and find other people that you'll both be successful with. You don't have to, there's no sunk cost fallacy, right? It's either working or it's not. It's okay to cut your losses as long as you're honest about it, and then know what you want next and know what they should do next. So what can mentorship look like in the data community? There's a lot of different ways to contribute in the community here. If someone likes to write, teach them to blog. If you have a blog, host some of their posts on your site or connect them with someone that would be willing to host for them. Or connect them with a mentor who would help them blog if that's not your thing. If they want to speak and you speak, there are plenty of programs now out there Ben Weissman has New Stars of Data, where they will, if you're interested in getting speaking and you haven't presented at a large conference, they will assign you a mentor to help you develop your abstract, your slide deck, your topic, work on your presentation skills, everything that comes with speaking. Data Scotland has a new speaker track, and I'm confident that other events do too. It's even also appropriate to present with them, right? If you'd be willing to share a presentation stage with this person, if that's what you're wanting to mentor them on, not necessarily, like work related, right? You can mentor each other, bounce ideas off of each other. It's possible if they have a perspective in the community, in your work, in your role, in whatever it is that you do that you've never considered, particularly if you're of slightly different generations, right? I am a woman of a certain age, and I learn things every day from the people that I interact with who are significantly younger than me. They have a completely different approach on life. Good. Did it change? No. Okay. Here's just as important a concept of mentorship is sponsor or sponsorship. Okay? So, where a mentor gives you actionable steps that you can take to improve your career, to improve your standing in the community, to get you out there, whatever it is, a sponsor is someone who has a place at the table already. They use that position to hire, retain, advance diversity employees. They're someone with influence and impact. The big difference between a mentor and a sponsor, so a mentor might schedule regular check-ins, give you some tasks, talk over coffee, listen to you. A sponsor is someone who can give you specific actionable advice at your company. A sponsor is someone who can get you assigned to stretch projects. Does everybody know what a stretch project is? Right, so when you're in the data community or in IT particularly, and a lot of other fields, a stretch project is something that's a little bit of a reach for you, right? If you apply for a job and you have 100% of the qualifications for this job, then you're already in the wrong job, right? Never apply for a job that you're fully, completely qualified for, because within a month you'll have outgrown it, right? So stretch a little bit, apply for the job that you have 60% of the skill sets for, because odds are pretty good what you have, you're gonna be able to use the skills that you have to figure out the rest of the stuff, okay? So, but a sponsorship is somebody who gets you invited to the table, who gets you assigned to stretch projects, who can bring your name up in meetings, who can help you actually move forward in your career at your company, okay? Let's see, so here I have, sponsorship goes beyond advice and check-ins. That it's typically a sponsor is someone at the company typically in a leadership position, and that's what gives them the power and influence to bring about change in the company. So I saw it explained on Twitter one day this way: a mentor will talk with you, but a sponsor will talk about you, right? So mentors give you perspective, and sponsors give you opportunities. So, okay. So the role of a sponsor isn't to make you a better person. It's to help create, demonstrate, and leverage work that advances your career. Accenture, a professional services company, developed a sponsorship program in which senior female employees were paired with C-suite executives who assist them in driving their careers forward. And the results have been promising. 47% of Accenture's new hires are now women. And the company maintains that 100% of its female employees participate in programs that are intended to mentor, sponsor, and develop in their careers. Anytime you have, let me go back. Anytime you have a diverse team working on a project, it's a better project. You build a better solution because you bring different perspectives to it. You solve the problem in a different way. And that includes the ratio of men to women, the diversity of thought that we bring, not just racial diversity, not just socioeconomic diversity, not just different colleges, different life experiences, that kind of thing. So, okay, there we go. Sorry. So you've been assigned to the project, right? You've been added to the big meeting or invited to talks about company direction. Now's your chance to lift as you climb. Include another woman when you can. So I always say when you walk through a door, reach back through the door and pull another woman with you. When you get a seat at the table, pull up a chair for someone. When you step up on a rung of a ladder, offer a hand up to the woman behind you. Don't apologize for doing this. This is actually something that men in the business world have been doing very, very well for a very, very long time. It's just a skill that we haven't mastered as well. Yeah, we're bad at it. I'm better at it. I think I regularly encourage MVPs, because I run that program. I try to encourage MVPs much more frequently to pay attention at conferences and look around them, at the speakers who don't look like them, or find bloggers who don't look like them, and take a look at their larger body of work in the community and nominate them to be an MVP. If they don't, what happens is we're essentially building a boys club, right? So the MVP program, you can only nominate someone if you're an MVP or if you're a Microsoft employee, right? How many of you know a Microsoft employee well enough that you think they would nominate you for MVP? Big surprise, that's the answer I get all the time, right? That they don't regularly interact with a Microsoft employee, so how would they know? They do interact with MVPs, but MVPs go to events and they hang out with their friends, and they hang out with people who are exactly like them, because that's that's what you do, is you hang out with people who are just like you, so they don't get influence from outside people. So I try to influence that as much as I can. I cannot change human nature, though. So let's talk about amplification. During the Obama administration in the United States, initially his administration was much like all the previous ones, in that his initial staff wasn't as diverse. By the time of his second administration, he had among the most diverse staffs ever. Even being diverse, women found that they were being excluded from meetings, or they weren't getting assigned to do the cool stuff, right? So they created something that they call amplification. And that means when you get assigned to a team or a project or whatever, that you recommend another woman as well. You know who'd be really good at this? Tracy would be really good at this. She should be on this team too. Most of the time, the people on the team will be like, okay, let's bring Tracy in here too. So actionable step that you can do at work when you do get assigned, when you do make it to the meeting, when you do get assigned to something, amplification. The other thing that amplification does is, in the Obama administration, they adopted a strategy of when a woman states an idea out loud, another woman in the meeting repeats it and assigns her name to it. They repeated, oh, XYZ, that's a great idea, Aaron. What is this person in the meeting now done? Prevented someone else from claiming the idea. Prevented someone else from repeating it and then adding something to it, and then suddenly they own it, suddenly it's theirs, right? So not only are you giving them ownership of it, you're stepping up, highlighting the idea, and making sure that someone else can't do that. So the next time that you attend a meeting, watch what happens. If in person, I know the online world has changed so much. I still get cut off in online meetings all the time. Drives me nuts. Next time when a woman offers her opinion in a meeting, watch what happens. Studies indicate that this is pretty common. globally, right? This isn't this United States. It's not just Australia, not just the, United Kingdom. This is globally. That's just where the studies started. They took them and repeated them other places, and it's the same. Women actually get interrupted at 3 times the rate that men do. And if you ask people at the end of the meeting who spoke the most in the meeting, most of the time people will say, even women will say, the women spoke the most, which isn't the case. It's almost never the case. Let's see, the last time I think this study was repeated was in 2018 or 2019, and it found that it wasn't getting any better. So they started it in 2015. They've done it every year. So when you're in a meeting and you're talking and you get interrupted or someone takes your idea or repeats it or whatever, 10 easy words. I just said that. Stop interrupting me, and I'm not finished. Now, that's what you say about yourself. It's actually just as important for all of you to do this for the people that you work with. So this is something that men and women can do. She just said that. She's not finished. She's not finished, and let her finish. And I get it that it feels awkward to say out loud in a meeting, stop interrupting me. It feels like you're the aggressor. It feels like you're the complainer. But eventually, people will start to pay attention that Brad interrupts people a lot. And he probably does it to them too. They just let it slide. But the more you call attention to it happening to you, the more you call attention happening to other people, it's going to get better. A lot of teams will institute what's called a no interruptions policy. And that's where everybody is allowed to finish their thought completely before the next person can talk. And there's a lot of industries or businesses where they've put this into place, and they actually find that it's very, very successful. So, having said that, we have about 20 minutes where we can do Q&A if we want to. God, that is awful. Like that is, I should have an umbrella. Do you have? Sorry. I mean, I don't know that I could even count how many of you are out there. Okay. Does anybody have any questions for me? Yes, ma'am. Here, Andy's going to bring you this big talk box that's incredibly intimidating and awkward. I thought it was a buzzer.
Yeah.
That you don't hit that. What is that? Oh, it's a hat. No, I'm fine. Thank you. That's really sweet. I love Kai. Kai's one of my MVPs too.
So
yes, ma'am.
Hopefully this is working. So I'm not in a senior position.
Okay.
I don't know any women in my kind of direct reporting area that are in a senior position. And the only 2 other women I work with are doing the same role as me.
Okay.
So I have sort of very limited options in terms of mentoring or being mentored.
Okay.
That said, my workplace is at least quite good at listening to everybody.
They are or are not?
They are,
okay.
At least, so that helps. So what can I do as someone with not a huge amount of influence to improve?
Okay, so 2 things. One is mentorship and one is sponsorship. Mm-hmm. Your mentor doesn't have to be somebody you work with. Mm-hmm. I mean, it could be good that they're someone in the same industry.
Yeah.
And given the online world, your mentor doesn't even have to be on the same continent you're on.
Okay.
Right? So at the end of this meeting, Deb, are you running off anytime soon? No. Okay, I'm gonna make you talk to Deb at the end of this. Okay. Now. Oh, and Tracy, I'm so sorry. She's the one who sent me the email about it. Okay. They have a plan, and they're going to fix everything.
Okay.
So, anyway, so mentorship is one thing. They don't have to be in your company. Mm-hmm. It could even be appropriate for you to go to HR and say, I'm looking for somebody to mentor me. Here are the skills that I think I need to improve on. This is the direction I want to go. They may be able to recommend somebody. I'm not sure how big your company is.
Not huge.
Okay, so, but again, they don't have to be even in your same industry, depending on how it is you want to improve. Now, with regards to sponsorship, a sponsorship doesn't have to be a woman, right? And given how few women are in leadership or executives or senior leadership positions at companies, I certainly hope they don't have to all be women because we're in trouble, right? Yeah. So like we as women don't represent enough of IT to fix this problem on our own. We don't represent enough at the senior leadership level for us to fix this on their own. But there are some really amazing allies out there, and probably even people who don't realize they're allies.
Yeah.
And in some cases, maybe you can find a senior person a level or two above you who has a little bit of influence and say, you know, I need your help. I'd like for you to be a part of my success at this company, right? Make it a win for them. Because if they champion you at work and you rise to the challenge, then it looks good for them too. And they could even put this in there. A lot of people, you can put this in your review. Like, do you do yearly reviews here?
Yeah.
Where you and so do you have to fill out your own, and it's so incredibly awkward where you're like, I did some great stuff.
Yeah.
Right? So they can put that in their, like that's one of their goals for the year, is that they're gonna help you improve, and so that they could be measured on your success. Okay. So sometimes you can, you know, hitch your wagon to them, but they in turn can hitch it to you too.
Okay, cool.
So sponsors can be men or women or whoever it is that you see in a senior leadership position that you think could have some influence.
Okay,
right?
Thank you.
Okay, good luck. And talk to Deb and Tracy after the meeting is over. Okay, does anybody else have a question?
I've got two.
Oh,
That's
okay. Yes, ma'am.
Big scary box. Can you hear me okay?
It is a scary box, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you.
So I've got two questions really. So the first.
So hold on. So read one of them. We'll finish it, and then we'll go to the second one, unless it's part A and part B. Just do whatever you want. It's fine.
I'll read one
We'll
first.
figure it out together. It's great.
So the first one then is, how do I combat unconscious bias? So what I find in my line of work is that I continuously need to prove my technical skills before people are taking me seriously, but that doesn't seem to be the case for the men on my team.
Right.
And I just feel like there's a lot of unconscious bias. I don't feel like the people who I'm supporting mean to be kind of defensive.
So first of all, you can't fix unconscious bias. Like, you don't have enough time. You're not going to live long enough. Not that she's going to die anytime soon. I just mean in this lifetime, you're not going to fix it. Now, there have been several studies or even anecdotal cases of where a man and a woman development team worked together and their signatures got switched. And while she had his signature, she said it was the most productive week of her career. That everybody took her on face value at what she said, and she didn't have to argue with it. What role do you have? Like, what do you do?
So I'm a Power Platform developer with Power Apps.
Okay, and so are you a consultant? Do you work with outside companies, or is this all internal?
All internal, so I work with citizen makers. And
so the people that you're building these things for or working for, they know who you are and all that. Okay, so I quite frequently will not put my name in my signature. I'll put my first initial, right? There's no need for them to know right away. They can discount me later. But so that's one of the things that I do, is that I don't always put my name in my signature. And it's not like people pay attention to who it's coming from. They'll just read down at the bottom. If it's the same company and they know who you are. There's a phrase that we use, and I don't know if it's appropriate to use. It's called a spokespenis. And it's when you get your male colleague to immediately, like, CC him on the email and have him immediately reply, that's going to work great. Right? He is loaning you his privilege. Really? Okay. I don't need to know that. That he bought that domain just because. Okay. But the number of times I have sent an email to a male colleague to have him send it, so they'll just, because I don't have time to spend 3 hours convincing them that I'm right and just going through the little bitty things. So ask for his help.
Okay.
Right? And again, make him understand that he'll be tied to your success. Right? So if you're not burning cycles trying to convince them that you're right, then you're going to get more work done, and that's actually going to ease his workload. Right? So that's the other option, is to ask for him
Yeah.
to immediately chime in on it.
Support me.
Now, if it reaches a point where you feel that's undercutting you or undermining you, or like people start going to him first just because he's going to chime in, then try a different tactic. But that's where I would start.
Okay, lovely.
Would be to have him, or even like start, I was discussing this with David. My idea is X. He's on board. And then whatever comes next, right? Borrow somebody else's privilege.
Okay, lovely.
Right? Was that both questions?
That was one question.
Okay, go ahead.
Sorry,
I
steal the
forgot.
time. So what I struggle with as well is to be my kind of authentic self. What I do a lot of the time is act quieter, less confident than I am, because I find if I do show how confident I am, it comes across as aggressive and intimidating I've got as well. And I was just wondering how you kind of be
I
your
am
authentic
not
self.
the person to talk about what it's like to be quiet. I'm sorry. No. So I've done okay in my career, right? I'm really good at what I do, and I've been really successful, and I've kicked in a few doors in my life, and maybe it's difficult in little snippets along the way, but I said last night, that's my secret cap. I'm always angry. I'm always angry about unconscious bias and the way women are treated. I could grind coffee with my teeth and boil water with my rage. I carry it with me every day. And I am unapologetically my entire self at work. And there are days that it has been difficult. And when they do call me aggressive, I will say, "You mean assertive?" I'm being assertive. And that kind of is a clue for them, because they know what they've just done, right? There are studies that show when men get reviewed, the word assertive is used for them. The word aggressive is used for women almost exclusively. Like, men never get called aggressive at work. If a man's aggressive at work, he's going to HR, right? So, are we at time? We have 10 minutes?
Sorry, I will share the box.
Yes? Okay.
This is just kind of, it might help you with what you said about being yourself at work. As an autistic person, I very much have an office and outdoor self and an at-home self, because otherwise, I'm incredibly blunt, and then people think I'm being rude even though I wasn't trying to be. And it is a little bit annoying that I have to alter myself slightly to get on with people in the office, but I think it's just something I've accepted that I'm going to have to do as a woman, as an autistic woman, and I don't think it's necessarily a bad thing to have an office self if that helps you get on with your day, as long as you're kind of happy and can accept that.
I even stand like a man in meetings. Right? I mean, so my master's degree is in sociology, and I learned really early on to manipulate people, right? Physically intimidate them. And I'm not short, so I'm 5'7". But for the first few years of my career, I wore heels at work all the time, because it's hard for a man to talk down to if he has to look up at you. Right? I even found I had colleagues who could have an entire conversation over my head, because they were freakishly tall, but they could have an entire conversation that I couldn't participate in, right? So, and I hate to say ruin your feet and your knees and your hips and stuff, but there are ways that you can, without being aggressive, without being too assertive, that you can stand, words that you can use. I mean, crossing your arms. Here's a quick thing. I'm sorry, Andy. You're now going to realize that this happens to you when you're out in the world. Yeah. Men don't face each other straight on when they talk. Men stand like this, 45-degree angle to each other. I don't know why. It's a level of maybe intimacy that they don't want to have with another man to face each other. So use this to your advantage. If he is standing at an angle to you, if you will swing your foot so that you are standing straight onto him, I promise you within 30 seconds, he's going to move this foot. And he's going to move back so that you're at an angle again. You have now made him physically retreat, and his psyche will follow. I used to have a boss that I could walk in an entire circle. And then, like, they'd be like, do it, Ree, please do it. He's being a real jerk today, he deserves it. So I would go do it to him, and then as soon as I got him in the full circle, I would leave him alone and I would walk. It's so awesome. Now, if they know you're doing this, it's not gonna work. If you have a close relationship with him, like if I do this to my husband, like I'm flirting, right? So somebody you have that kind of intimate relationship with, it's not gonna work. But a boss, a colleague, if they're being particularly stubborn and not giving in, try standing facing them just once and see what happens. And you're gonna laugh the first time. Because it's funny. It's funny. Okay, sorry. So try that and see if you can get them to retreat without having to do anything aggressive or assertive. What are they gonna say? She stepped closer to me? Scary girl. What? Yes, ma'am.
Hi. So I've been working at my company for 10 months. And I feel like I've started a lot of conversations with people where they've then gone to management to be like having discussions about pay and other bits and pieces. There's more things that need to be talked about, but I'm a little bit worried about being labeled as like a trouble starter or someone who's like stirring the pot. And I feel like that's making me not have those conversations with people which are important.
Well-behaved women seldom make history. Well-behaved women seldom make history. Be a troublemaker.
Okay.
What is it? John Lewis, who's an American representative, he called it good trouble. Sorry, we lost him this past year. He's my district, so. Good trouble. Necessary trouble. So, be a troublemaker at work. There are places in America where it's against the law, or they can make it against the company rules for you to talk about your salary, but there are states that they are specifically not allowed to bar it, right? So I encourage people to have salary conversations all the time, because how else are you going to know that you're underpaid? But it does fall in the company's favor if you're not allowed to talk about it, and they can keep you underpaid. So, I mean, my personal advice would be, I'd be careful about who you talk to. Sometimes if it's something you're serious enough about, you could preemptively go to HR first and go have these concerns and see what they say, so that when they hear about it later, it's not coming to them as brand new information with somebody complaining about it. It was already I'd like to have some conversations about, salary, or not getting assigned to stretch projects, not getting picked for things, getting picked to do the IT housework, right? How women end up carrying that labor in departments all the time. Like suddenly it's my job to remember everybody's birthday and get cake. If it's up to me to bake a cake, somebody's going to the hospital. Like either I'm going to kill them or I'm going to kill them, right? So there's a lot of ways that could go. So if you feel it's a legitimate problem that you could talk to HR about, what is it called? Is it called HR here? Human Resources?
Yeah.
Okay, I didn't think to ask the question until I said it out loud. I thought, what if they don't know what HR is? Because we use acronyms. So depending on the problem, I would approach it different ways. Careful about who you ask or how you approach it. Go to HR first. Or even go to management first. But barring that, make trouble, right? I mean, I'm telling you, I've done okay. And everybody knows I'm trouble. Everybody knows I'm trouble. Okay, do we have any more questions? We have time. We have a few minutes left, right? A couple minutes? Yes?
Yeah, about 3 minutes left.
No? You're all so quiet. This is so odd.
Am I allowed to ask a question? Is this on?
No. Yes. Yes, you're
Yeah.
allowed to ask a question. No, that's not on.
I'm helping because I wanted to be here. 'Cause
Absolutely.
I've got
Wonderful.
daughters.
Wonderful.
So, looking around the room, there's not many men here in this session.
Correct.
So, what do we do to help?
So this is actually the least number of men I've ever had in a WIT session that I've done, ever.
Okay.
Ever. When I do these most of the time, because it's a tech conference and tech conferences are mostly men, so my sessions are typically at least 50% men. And I always am sure to tell them how much I appreciate them. That they could have been at any session going on at the same time, and they chose to be in this one. And they chose to be there because they want to be an ally and they don't know what to do. So are you asking how can you be an ally in the workforce, or are you asking how can you get more men to this kind of meeting?
How to be an ally?
Okay.
Yeah, I mean, it's difficult for my particular situation because I just work independently, but, you know,
Right.
at companies that I work, I do see individuals that I can promote.
So it's really, really important when you see someone behaving in a biased way or a discriminatory way or something, that you loan her your privilege, that you say in a meeting, hang on, I want to hear her idea. Can we let her finish? This sounds interesting, right? Or if you see that she's getting repeatedly interrupted or something like that, you can say, stop interrupting her, or you can go to her separately and say, how would you like for me? How can I help you? How would you like for me to handle this? Because it is possible that her perception would be, oh great, Andy thinks he can solve all my problems for me. I don't need anybody charging in on a white horse. So that is a decision you have to make on a case by case. Does she really need me to do this? Am I going to be undermining her? Yes, ma'am. Oh, yay.
Okay, good.
Good. Awesome. They're just not in the room. I'm telling you, so I have these men come to my sessions all the time, and they'll say, that doesn't happen where I work. And I'll be like, do the laws of physics cease to exist on your stove? It's a line from a movie. If you think this doesn't happen where you work, you're not paying attention, right? The numbers don't lie. And the odds, the sheer odds of it not happening at your single company, I mean, are astronomical. There's no way. So all of them will come back. I'll say, go back, pay attention, or go home, talk to your wife, because I'll know that they're in a tech industry or something like that. Go talk to them. Trust me on this. You're not paying attention. Every single time he comes back to me, whether it's next time I see him or he emails me or DMs me or something and says, holy crap, it's awful. Or I talked to my wife when she stopped laughing, you know, she told me, yes, it absolutely happens. So it's all a matter of paying attention. So if you're paying attention, you can absolutely impact every single person in the room, male and female. And maybe even other men will start noticing that Brad's an interrupter. Maybe Brad's boss will pull Brad aside and go, 3 different times in this meeting, somebody had to ask you to stop interrupting them, right? Let's label them aggressive without labeling them aggressive, right? Okay? And we're at time. Okay, thank you all. If you have any questions for me, let me know. Talk to Tracy and Deborah, because they're launching a mentorship love circle. I don't know, they have a name for it. I don't know. I don't remember. a mentorship love circle. Am I wrong? She's just like, yes, but no.